Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home.
Welcome everybody to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive, and I'm super excited about today's show because it's such an important topic, and I think especially starting the new year, we want to have emotional elasticity. So I'm going to be talking about what that's about in just a second. But first, I want to say, if you're here for the first time at the Heal Your Hunger Show, welcome. So happy to have you here. I hope you stick around. So what we talk about here are things that are so important to the emotional eater. So I am all about supporting emotional eaters in living healthier, happier, more effective, useful, and self-caring lives. So if you know you're an emotional eater, great, you have found your tribe. Okay, you're in the right place. If you're like, don't know if that applies to me, well, I totally get it. And you don't have to know. If you are somebody who overeats on occasion and feels bad about it and wishes you wouldn't do that, if you're somebody who obsesses about food and weight for any given time, length of time in a day, if you want to eat in secret because you don't want people to see how much you eat, if you have shame around your eating in any way, if you have shame around your body in any way, guess what? You're probably an emotional eater. Now, you can actually get a personalized score and find out where you are on the emotional eating spectrum, because you might not only be an emotional eater, but also a food addict. Like, you might be in the realm of addiction around your food habits. I know I was, having been 50 pounds overweight and a binge eater. I totally was a food addict. Food addicts are emotional eaters, and not all emotional eaters are food addicts. So it's worth it to take the quiz and get the score. You go to healyourhunger.com, just take the quiz. You'll get a personalized score, and then you'll be on your way to knowing what to do about it, because I tell you. So in a nice way. I don't order people around, but I'll give you super simple steps you can start taking to heal your relationship with food. Also, I do a lot of my shows in the Secret Sauce group. This is a group on Facebook that I want to invite you to. It's called the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating. So join us there. We'd love to have you. That's where we continue the conversation. You get news and updates on what's happening with Heal Your Hunger, events that we have coming up, and how you can play with us, and also just very helpful resources. So go to Facebook and type in the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating now, and we will say, come on in. Water's fine. So I'm happy about this topic. I actually, speaking of water, I came on this topic this morning as I was swimming in Mexico. So I'm in Mexico right now, and it is lovely, and I'm on vacation, and I'm loving it. Yes, I record podcasts on vacation, so I don't ever totally go on vacation, but I was inspired. I was swimming, and I was thinking about the past week of my life, which was spent with my family in Maine, very cold Maine during the holidays, and now in Mexico. So I was in Maine. It was cold. We lost power. It was an experience. And then I flew back to LA, and then we flew to Mexico. But there's some things that happened in there I'm going to talk about. But this is really what inspired my topic for today, which is emotional elasticity. Because my experience is, a lot of times we overeat because we're kind of, our wires are crossed, and we're reacting to situations in our life, and really to emotions inside of us. So we have, things happen that are unexpected. We have, people coming and going. We have events that we didn't expect. We have tragedy, change of jobs, loss of jobs, moving to another side of the country, pandemic, divorce, infidelity, dysregulation of some kind, in others around us or in ourselves, health issues. Good Lord, there's no end to the things that can happen in life. That's life. Life is in session and things happen. And the question is, how are we handling those things? Are we reacting by eating? Are we like, I can't handle this, where's the chips? Or are we processing and metabolizing our emotions and having a response to hard things rather than a reaction? So that's, in my experience, what emotional elasticity is. I love the words emotional elasticity. I want you to experience emotional elasticity, because to me, this is a big part of how you're going to end your tumultuous relationship with food, is to have more emotional elasticity. So it's kind of a mouthful, and it came to me because I think this is just something that I've been blessed to experience over the past several years of my life, but it didn't just happen, okay? I used to not have emotional elasticity, and to just dig into that a little bit more, I used to be quite reactive, where situations in my life would scare me, would trouble me, would make me feel like I can't handle this. And then I would eat as support to try to get through hard things. So if you're somebody who reacts with food, like you are like, I have to eat to get through something, that's an emotional dependence on food. That is, causing emotional eating. Emotional eating is depending on food to get us through tough emotions. Big emotions. It could be good emotions as well as bad emotions, but that's what emotional eating is. Okay, so if you're somebody who, has tough things happen and then you rely on food to get you through, that's an emotional dependence on food. And obviously that's going to end badly. It's going to end in weight gain if it ends at all. It's going to start you on, a path of weight gain and feeling bad about your food choices and feeling bad about yourself and, guilt and shame and all the rest of it. Doesn't have to, but if you're an emotional eater, typically that's where you go with it. And that's where I went. I was 50 pounds overweight. I needed food. Food's how I got through life. I had my little stash of food whenever I was having trouble in life. And that was a problem, okay? Because it obviously caused this cascade of feeling bad about my food choices and about my body and, just feeling bad and not having strong self-confidence or self-esteem, yada, yada. So you know what I'm talking about, right? If you're here listening right now, you probably know what I'm talking about. So over the years in my healing journey, I've found emotional elasticity where I don't get thrown by much. And I don't want to be tested, so I have to prove that statement. But generally speaking, things that happen in my life, big and small, good and bad, but big emotion, things that normally cause big emotions don't cause very big emotions in me. And when they do, I have new tools to deal with it. So I don't really get knocked off my game. I don't get knocked off course. I don't go to food to deal with it. Okay, so to me, emotional elasticity is rolling with the punches, having kind of a sense of ease around things, and having a sense of peace around what's happening, no matter what's happening. And that's what I want for you. And I'm going to tell you the 3 simple steps that I think are key for this. There's probably more, but I didn't want to overwhelm you. Okay, so let me go through this. And the reason why this has come up for me is because when I was in Maine with my family, the power went out. There was a huge windstorm Friday before Christmas, and it was fierce. The wind was fierce. If you're in the Northeast, you probably experienced some form of rain and wind. And at my sister's home, the power went out. It went out at a pole. A pole came down across the street. And wires came down and we lost power, and we ended up losing power for 2 days. And it was super cold there. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I live in Southern California and I'm not into the cold. So the reason why I don't live in Maine with my sisters, I grew up in the Northeast, is because I don't like the cold. I don't want to be cold, and I don't want to hang out too long in the cold. I go back for Christmas because my sisters enjoy me coming back. I enjoy being with my nieces and nephew and sisters and family. So that's what I did. And it was interesting. And at the end of it all, I mean, my sister and I literally stayed at the house. Her kids went and stayed with her, with the kid's father rather. But so there was another house for us to go to, and we did spend Christmas at his house because it was so cold and the power was off. But I will say that for 2 nights, she and I stayed at the house, even though outside it was in the teens. And thankfully, we both are pretty good, our bodies are pretty good at cooking at night and being like a furnace. So it didn't matter how cold it was. I like sleeping in a cold bedroom. I sleep better. Otherwise, I sweat and I wake up. So it worked out. My sister said to me, at the end of my visit, she said, thank you so much. She always calls me something like, I'm Christmas light or something, or I'm the light of Christmas or something very beautiful, very complimentary. And she said, thank you for showing me what going with the flow looks like. Thank you for being an example of going with the flow. And I think she appreciated that. I'm like, power's out. Okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to deal with it? And, we emptied out the fridge. We dealt with the food so it didn't spoil. And we just we did roll with it. Now, she rolled with it too. It's not like she didn't have that capacity. But I think she appreciates how I am, and how I am is I generally am emotionally elastic. And I just am like, whatever's coming my way, I'm like, okay, let's deal with it. Let's deal with it. Here's what we're going to do. I'm not necessarily taking charge in that situation, but I did have some suggestions, and I did generally just have a demeanor of, okay, we're going to do this and it's going to work out. And that's what she appreciates about me. And that's a really nice compliment. And again, I think part of this is my personality to roll with things, but I do know now more than ever, it's my personality, and it's also the way I deal with things without overeating. Okay, so that's the big difference. And so I want to share the 3 things that have helped me be emotionally elastic and that can help you be emotionally elastic. So the first one is, don't have expectations or lower your expectations. All right, I find that so many people get into trouble when they have expectations. And if somebody is having a problem, especially in relationships or in relation to other people, if you're having problems, if you look a little bit more closely, so much of the time it's from our expectations that we end up feeling bad. It's not the thing itself. And I heard from several people, around holiday time, they had expectations of their kids coming home for the holidays or their kids showing up at a certain time or a certain date. And when that didn't happen, they felt sad. They kind of put a damper on their holidays. But was it the fact that they came late or they didn't come at all? Or was it the fact that that person had an expectation that was dashed? I say it's from the expectation. So my experience is it's okay to have expectations, but watch it. Okay, watch out for those expectations. If you hold onto them too tightly, okay, if you're attached to things being a certain way, you will be disappointed. And you'll be disappointed more often than not. Because our expectations make us unhappy. Our expectations of people especially create disappointment. And that's what I want you to see, is that a lot of times you're eating in reaction to something that didn't go your way. But it was having a way at all that was causing your pain. Not that it didn't go your way, but that you needed it to go a certain way in order to be happy. So don't allow your happiness to be contingent on something happening or somebody doing something. Do you see what I'm talking about? It's the expectation that causes our disappointment. It's our expectation that causes our pain. I don't want you to have pain, and especially to eat over that pain. Now, we can't avoid pain. We can't avoid being disappointed. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have expectations and be hopeful about things happening in a certain way. It's okay. But when you feel yourself feeling disappointed, just take a look at the source of that disappointment. Take a look at the source of your pain. And my experience is it comes from our expectation more than what happened. If you can detach yourself from other people's actions and realize, hey, I expected it to go this way. It didn't go that way. Can I let that go? Can I let it be okay? That's where your freedom is going to come. And that's the shift that will enable you to keep on going, to keep rolling with life's punches without turning to food. It's when we're jammed up and we feel like, I thought it was going to be a certain way. It didn't go that way. Now I'm afraid. Now I'm disappointed. Now I'm angry. Now I've been betrayed or I've been disappointed by somebody else, right? We go into our victim mode. Then we justify a binge. So do you see that it's holding on tightly to a certain way that causes our wires to get crossed and for us to go to food for comfort? So just take a look at that. My experience is emotional elasticity comes when we're not attached. It's kind of a Buddhist notion of non-attachment, like not being attached to anything too tightly. To be emotionally elastic, to be able to go with the flow is so important because it just makes us be free and unattached to things. Unattached to outcomes is what I'm talking about. So the second step, which I have found so helpful, is to know and to affirm that there is a divine order underlying everything. And what I mean by that is a knowing, an inner knowing that God's in charge. Now, I love talking about God, and I use the word God because it's kind of a generic word, and your God can be anything you want it to be. And whatever that means to you is, I think, what you should consider when I say God. But if you don't believe in God, if that's not something you relate to, what I'm talking about is trusting that things will work out. So take the spiritual notion out of it. Instead of trusting that it's in divine order, that there is a spiritual flow, a spiritual being, a spiritual energy in the universe. Instead of going there, trusting that it will all work out. Go there instead. Just trust that it will all work out. And what I mean by this, after I got back from Maine, my guy and I were going to be traveling to Mexico. And we showed up Monday morning, day after Christmas, at the airport. And lo and behold, we were 7 minutes late from checking in and being able to fly. So they had a 1 hour cutoff for an international flight. This is a rule, I guess. It's just a rule. And apparently it's a very hard-lined rule, where if you are later than 1 hour for check-in for an international flight, you can't fly. Okay, so we were, a little lax, and we actually it was traffic, but I mean we should have left earlier. But the truth is there was terrible traffic, and then there was a line, and this I had already actually checked in, but my guy is he is from the Netherlands, and he had he has a passport from the Netherlands, and so he had to check in person. The line was long, and by the time we got to the counter, we were too late. Okay, so, and again, it was our fault. We should have allowed for more time, for sure. But it was a big bummer, right, to be 7 minutes from the cutoff time. We asked to speak to a higher up. Higher up's like, nope, sorry, hard line. We'll book you for tomorrow. So we had our Airbnb, in Mexico, ready for us and everything. And we had to book a hotel down near the airport, and we had a whole day to kill before we flew, instead of flying the day we were supposed to fly. And bummer, right? Like, that's how we felt. We were like, are you kidding me? We were so close, and nobody let us fly. So I'd say we spent about 15 or 20 minutes bummed out. 15 or 20 minutes bummed out. And then we're like, well, let's hang out, in the South Bay area. Let's act like it's vacation time. Let's just sort of be on vacation here. And LA is beautiful. The weather was beautiful. We went to the beach. We went out to lunch. It was great. The whole day was great. And the next day we flew to Mexico. But I bring this up because that's an example of emotional elasticity. Like, we could have let that ruin our day. We could have kicked ourselves, beat ourselves up for not being more responsible, for not being there over an hour ahead of time, for not paying attention when they said somewhere, we must have heard it somewhere, be there an hour ahead of time. We didn't really obviously take it seriously enough. We could have beat ourselves up and dwelled on it. There are a number of ways we could have played it. But thankfully, my guy is a lot like me, and we're both pretty emotionally elastic, and we're like, too bad, so sad, let's have a great day. And we did, and we left a day late. Our flight, went off without a hitch because we checked in, the day before. We just went within the 24 hours and checked in, so we knew we didn't have to stress in the morning to get there if there was bad traffic again. So it all worked out. I'm in Mexico. I'm happy to be here. I had a swim. So my point here, though, is it's so much about our attitude, and it's so much about having that inner knowing that it's going to work out. So there's a lot of things here. First of all, having a positive attitude, looking for the good. We're like, how can we make the best of this? Let's be on vacation. Let's go play, in this different part of LA that we're not normally in. Great. Having a good attitude, that's a good step for being emotionally elastic. But I think underlying that is this sort of faith that we're okay and it's going to be okay. And that's what I want for you. Probably my favorite affirmation is it's all in divine order. And so I don't mean like God's got a specific plan, predestined plan for me, and we were supposed to miss the plane and then we're supposed to do such and such. I don't really buy that. And yet I just know that it's all going to work out. Like it's sort of a faith. And again, this doesn't even have to be spiritual, but having faith that it will all work out. I just happen to like believing that God's in charge of my life. It makes me feel comforted, and that helps me have faith. But knowing it will all work out, trusting it will all work out, that helps me have a good attitude. It helps me shrug off mistakes that I make or ways that I goof up, and just know it will work out. We had a great day. We were able to do things we wouldn't have done otherwise. I had the best fried Brussels sprouts, I just have to say. One of my favorite foods on the planet. It just didn't bog us down. It didn't bog us down. It didn't ruin our vacation. It always works out, even if momentarily it sucks. There is an order to things. There's a beautiful order to things. We just have to have faith and find that order. In hindsight, oftentimes is when it shows up. The third step to experiencing emotional elasticity: find your inner peace. Okay, find your inner peace. My experience is we have within us an inner resource of peace. I believe that God is within us. Okay, our divine spirit lives within. Find it. Find the peace within. My experience is that will help us have emotional elasticity. That'll help us just know it's all going to work out. Now, how do you find inner peace if you don't feel like you have it? There are some things you can do, like meditation, which to me is the number one best thing you could possibly do for finding inner peace, is to have a meditation practice. Writing out your feelings. My clients are really good at writing out their feelings, getting it off of them, detoxing from tough emotions by putting them on paper. Writing is so powerful. It's such an unused, underdeveloped tool that can bring you some emotional equilibrium and emotional just grounding, which will help you be emotionally elastic. All right? Reading spiritual literature is another way to get grounded and to find your inner peace. Read about it. Read peaceful words. Read the Bible. Find something that resonates for you, that has a vibration that feels grounding and nourishing to you in a spiritual way. Like, have your inner being moved by spiritual literature, beautiful poetry, or beautiful ideas about God, loving, kind, gentle ideas about God. Read these things, and I like to have a daily reader that has a beautiful, positive message that I can resonate with, that can help me find my inner peace. My experiences, you gotta put into it. There are some people who are peaceful and they don't have to work at it. My guy is one of them, okay? I don't know, we talk about it sometimes. We talk about these things a lot, but, I don't know why, but he's just grounded and emotionally centered without working at it. Good for him. Not my experience, okay? I need to work at it. I gotta invest in meditation and prayer and writing and reading spiritual literature and talking to other emotional leaders. There's all kinds of things I have to do on a daily basis to get grounded and to find my peace. I've made peace with the fact that I got to do a whole bunch of things to find my peace. It's not that way for everybody. Bless them. That's not my business. My business is, as an emotional eater, I want to be as emotionally grounded as possible, which means I'm going to have to do some work to get there. It doesn't come automatically to me. If I don't do the things I do, I will lose my peace. I'll be like a mad woman, and I'll overeat for peace, for like a respite from myself, from my mad woman status. So I gotta invest, and I do it on a daily basis. I invest in meditation, prayer, spiritual readings, things that help me feel peaceful. And the net result is I'm more emotionally able to handle things without going to food. It's worth the investment, friends. It's worth the investment to find my peace through spiritual practices. And it could be breathing for you, breathing techniques. It could be emotional freedom tapping. It could be yoga. It could be another form of exercise, or walking in the woods, or all of the above. They're all important things you can do to find your peace so that you don't get tipped over by events. There are people who let the news tip them over and cause them to eat, or they let events in their life cause them to eat. It doesn't have to be that way for you anymore. I promise you. Now, chances are you're going to need support. So doing this on your own is hard. My clients are part of a community, the Heal Your Hunger community, where they see each other on a regular basis on Zoom. They're in a Facebook group together. They are cheering each other on, supporting each other, getting coached and mentored. Getting support is going to make all this much easier. And having a place where you can share your feelings, it's going to make it much easier. If you want to know more about that, definitely reach out. Go to healyourhunger.com and apply for an emotional eating breakthrough session. But beyond that, just know that the more you put into, your emotional well-being, the more emotionally elastic you'll be, the easier life events will be, the easier it will be to roll with the punches when things happen, when the power goes out and it's freezing cold outside, or in the teens, or you miss your flight, right? Or something else. The other or last way that I would just want to say to find your inner peace is to deal with your emotions real time. Stop stuffing your emotions. So important. Honor your emotions. If you feel sad, let yourself feel sad. If you feel hurt, deal with it by writing about it. Write out that hurt. Talk to somebody about it. Okay, the more emotionally present you can get, the less likely it is that you're going to be tipped over by events and comforting yourself with food. So here are the 3 simple steps. Don't have expectations, or don't be too attached to your expectations. Number 2, know and affirm that there is a divine order always, and it will always work out, no matter what, even if you can't see it. And number 3, find your inner peace. And you do that through meditation, writing, prayer, reading spiritual literature, and processing your emotions real time instead of stuffing them. So I hope this is helpful. It's a simple message, such an important one though. Emotional elasticity, Roll with the punches. Know it's going to work out. You don't need food to get through difficult situations. You need support. You need community. You need help. Ask for it. Stop being stoic and depending on food. But I hope these steps help you as well, because you deserve to be emotionally elastic. Life's more fun when you're emotionally elastic. Thanks so much. Sending you so much love, and Happy New Year.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.